Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 14 of the Give My Head podcast. I'm Tim McGarry, joined by my comedy colleagues
Michael McDowell,
Damon Quinn.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, a big thanks to our sponsor, Drip Cafe on the Ormer Road. Fantastic cafe, superb coffee, which we love drinking. And they also, if you go into Drip Cafe and get and say to them, will you give my head some peace? They will give you 20% off your food, but 20% off for absolutely love, just for saying, will you give my head some peace? You couldn't be bad to that. Drip Cafe on the Ormer Road is actually in Clare Hanna's constituency, ladies and gentlemen.
I was actually in it last week. It is very good. And I just thought it would be a bit naff if I went up and took the 20% discount, but I was tempted to go up just for you know. And
then you go, MP, inexpensive scrandal.
Probably not even paying for it.
Couldn't even pay for her own
so I paid full whack for
French toast.
For Matthew O'Toole's whatever pastry he had.
Oh, well, thank you very much. No, Drip have been very good, and we thank you for your support. Our special guest today, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, the show is about comedy and culture and politics and bits and pieces. We've had politicians, we've had actors, we've had comedians. We're absolutely delighted to be joined with the leader of the SDLP, MP for South Belfast, Ms. Claire Hanna. Welcome.
Yes.
Welcome. How are you?
I'm glad, delighted, and
I
terrified. I am nervous.
Don't be nervous.
I'm actually really good crack, but not in a forced situation.
Just think of that is Stephen Nolan. That is Mark Carruthers.
I love the way he is Stephen Nolan. You mean him, Stephen Nolan?
And I am. Who am I? Donna Traynor. No. I'm Graham Norton. I'm the Graham Norton of it. So don't relax.
Great. You'll be the comedy one.
Everything's going to be okay. No hard questions. Nothing you need to worry about. So, leader of the SDLP. Nobody else was in for it. What happened there?
It sounds a bit Sinn Féin-y, doesn't it?
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Are you mad?
I couldn't quite persuade anybody else to put their name in. No, I'm very excited. Yes, absolutely. It is. Of course. What else would it be?
Is it more work being leader of a party?
Yeah, probably is. That's my daughter said. She was like, and you get more money? And I was like, no, I don't.
You don't get any more money.
You just get more hassle?
No, but it's an honour to serve, of course, yeah. So I'm excited about it.
Being an MP, I'd love to be an MP. That looks like great crack.
You're not
Westminster and all that.
We're not supposed to enjoy it. You can't look like it. Look, it has its moments. It does. I mean, it's got its downsides, but yeah, you do.
Well, we enjoyed it when we were there because we were taught law by Lady Sylvia Herman.
She's class.
Yes, great mate of ours, and she invited us when she was an MP. She invited us to come and have lunch with her in the House of Commons, and we had a great time there, and we sat and watched it. We actually saw. It was the first time I ever saw Boris Johnson in action. That was the downside.
Yeah. Should have sounded clever. Yeah.
She told us that when she first got elected to Westminster, Jerry Fitt was still alive at the time. And he welcomed her because obviously all the other unionists were ignoring her. If you remember, because she was the only.
That's right.
So she was like, she said, remember she was in the airport and they were all ignoring her, even in the airport. Like, she was persona non grata. But Jerry Fitt took her under his wing. But he took her around all the bars in the house, and apparently of which there are many.
There are, yeah.
All in all sorts of nooks and crannies.
Loads. I mean, I'm not a big drink, so I haven't found loads. But there's people
we
that
found
have
them.
fairly. Yes, we find them. I've ended up in the backs of kitchens and everything with people in the bars. But I heard Jerry Fitt. They were saying that he used to have a minder or whatever, a security guy with him, and he said, I don't want to drink on my own here. Would you have a drink with me every time and he goes, I don't drink, I can't drink. And he goes, just have a soft drink. And apparently the guy basically got quinine poisoning because he matched him tonic for gin and tonic.
Gin and tonic was his favourite drink.
Yeah.
I heard that.
Younger listeners probably wouldn't know Jerry Fitt.
Jerry Fitt was the first leader of the SDLP.
He was. No, he parted company with the SDLP. Long before I was born. But,
I know what it was for.
Go.
There was a big row over Polly Devlin, I think, had wanted it to be more Labour Party.
Yeah.
And Social Democratic and all of that, whereas Jerry Fitt thought that the SDLP was going too green. And that's what the big dispute was.
Yeah. If you track, I mean, obviously I wasn't around, but I've read it. I mean, there were rifts and there were, I suppose, personality issues, and that's the SDLP has always had big political personalities, and I suppose it is, and it has been a broad church. It's harder than it looks to be a practicing Social Democrat in a politics that doesn't work. At the best case scenario, you're spending your pocket money in the assembly, and even that wasn't always available. But it certainly, I think nobody's ever complained the policy isn't right. Yeah, culturally there probably were a few issues to work through, but
Well, you said your younger generation, you were born 1980?
Yes.
Were you allowed to say that on the
Yeah,
podcast? We're allowed to
it's
say that on the
okay.
podcast.
We're of a different vintage, Tim.
We were doing our O-levels in 1980.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
O-levels.
I know.
GCSEs now.
They are now, yeah,
yeah.
GCSE. So you're 1980.
Yep.
So you missed all the most of the nonsense.
Yep. The worst bits.
But your mum was heavily involved in the party.
Yeah.
I remember Carmel Hanna. Yeah. And was that because is that why you got involved?
No, I mean, it's fair to say my dad was as well. My dad
Yeah.
was involved in civil rights.
So you're
and
sort of
then
like the Kennedys?
Yeah, well, no, it's like a hereditary mental illness, probably is a better way of putting it. But I actually remember canvassing for my mum in 2007, and we were going up the Lisburn Road, and we had a couple of mates up from the Labour Party in Dublin, and one of them went to hand you a leaflet.
Me?
Yeah, you were just there as a civilian, like
Right.
just walking, and you were like, here, I'm a top man in Sinn Féin, because it was in the middle of Give My Headpiece and Dan scared the crap out of some wee lad out from Wicklow who thought he'd made a big faux pas. But yeah, so it was just there was always politics in the house, I suppose. So I didn't determinedly follow mum in, and in fact I was very hung up on this. I waited a few years. I didn't co-opt into her seat, or council seat, or her assembly seat. That was very important to me, that there wouldn't be I wouldn't do that traditional Irish thing of just inheriting the seat. So when she had retired a few years, I ran. So
I was very annoyed because I think I should be an MP because
Because of the bars.
the bar.
You would
Because
be
of
for
the-
an
yes.
MP.
Yes.
You
yes,
would?
it would.
The
Yeah,
expenses
Talker.
form.
But you know, when Jerry Adams gave up West Belfast and they were looking for a successor, I thought I was just sitting waiting for the phone call. I mean, Carl.
yeah,
you know,
good point.
so,
Good
you know,
point. Yeah,
what's
yeah.
going on here, guys? You know, and they
Good
go for Paul Maskey.
I know.
I was very hurt. You know, I never even got
very
asked.
close, very close. Yeah, no, you'd
But you'd have taken your seat. You'd been the first shinner to take your seat, right?
In the bar, yeah, but you
bar.
have to go.
Oh, that's true. You don't have to go to the...
You don't. Can you get? So if the Shinners don't take the oath, so they get to wander around and go to the bars.
Yeah, they do, and they have events and stuff. They just and they
won't take the
just but then you go in and you vote on it and you actually say it to their faces. Do you know what I mean? There's been loads of issues when you be in committee meetings on things like legacy or some of the worst of the Brexit stuff, and there's stakeholders from here setting out their stall and what's wrong, and all the parties give their solutions, and then we actually go in and try and do something about it. So
you took a conscientious objection to the oath, though, didn't you?
yeah, I did.
You took the oath and then you said,
Yeah,
by the way, I
the
shouldn't have done
first
that.
time, yeah. And funny, somebody said to me, right, you'll be queuing for 3 hours for your oath. So I was like, right, I'll have to think of something really profound to say in the queue. And then just for some reason there was no queue, so I just had to walk up and say it. The point I made was one. I mean, I'm not a monarchist. Might not surprise you. I have a polite interest in the royal family. I'm not hostile. I've met several of them, and they're important to a lot of my
the
constituents.
OBE out the window.
So that wasn't the issue. But it meant that I do consider myself to be a fairly truthful person. But effectively, the first thing I said in that chamber wasn't true. I had to say something that didn't actually reflect my outlook, and I think it would be a better approach that you make a pledge of service to your constituents or to the Nolan principles or something like that. So, I have met the Speaker about it and set out my case. And I think there is a wee bit more momentum around it. I think there were a good few MPs.
There's a few of the Scottish ones and the Welsh
Yeah,
ones
yeah,
as well.
and Labour and English MPs just
saying
saying.
things oaths though, because we fought the whole Irish Civil War over the oath.
Yeah.
And then Dave Valera come up with this
Formulation
genius
of
idea.
words.
Well, look, I tell you what, we'll take the oath, but we won't mean it.
Yeah.
And you sort of think, Dave, could you not have thought of that?
A bit more
about a
spin
year
on
ago,
there.
you know.
Look, it's not. No. People don't. Actually, nobody asked me in the run up to that first
Right.
election. It didn't come up on the doors. It is a sort of, what was it Dave said, an empty formulation of words, but it's just a barrier that you have to cross. But if on the other side of it, it's serving your constituents. I'm under no illusions about Westminster. I don't put it up on a pedestal. It's just it's one of the places I work a couple of days a week. But whether we like it or not, it still has a substantial say
Oh, it does. Yeah, it's
on
quite
our lives, and there's stuff needs said. Yeah.
I like your origins are vaguely similar to our origins
Right.
in the sense that we got involved. I knew these guys. Well, Damon started all the comedy and stuff, but we were involved in the Third World Society in Queens,
Yeah.
development stuff, and did our initial shows were for Third World charities, not called the Third World anymore.
Yeah.
But then we started to make money out of them.
Then we started to make money. Well, wait a minute.
That's why we saw the money we were making for charity, and then somebody thought, actually,
Where do we keep this ourselves?
there might be a living in this.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I was at Queens and we had the Third World Society, and I was elected president for life because nobody else, in the same way as the SDLP, nobody else would do it. I was,
it wasn't.
but we did. That's how we started. We had a big interest in development and charity. We still do. There's a brilliant charity we could talk about, South Belfast charity, Tools for Solidarity.
Yeah,
you know
they're-
Tools.
I know
Can we give
them
a plug
well.
to Tools for Solidarity?
Absolutely,
Brilliant bunch
they're
of guys.
brilliant, and
They're
they-
mates of mine. They're 40,000.
They rehab,
Stevie Williams,
they rehab like sewing machines and loads of tools, and they bring them out to people in
Tanzania.
communities. Tanzania and is one of their things. People who can really make it go. Have you ever been in there?
Yes,
Oh my
many
goodness!
times in
It's
their
like
workshop.
it's like an Aladdin's cave of every tool you
Yeah.
can possibly think
Well,
of.
that's
It's
our very
class.
good friend Stephen.
Stevie.
No, he's brilliant.
Started
He's
that.
brilliant.
They had their 40th anniversary there recently. I did a gig for them for their 40th anniversary, and they're a brilliant charity. If anybody's got a few spare quid and is interested in development charities, they are brilliant.
And they
bunch of guys.
repair,
very
like
cool,
they
yeah.
repair stuff like my dad got his coffee machine fixed by them,
Yeah.
they, things like that, and they put the money back in. I saw Stephen at the Repair Cafe in Finnegy
Yeah.
just last week, and he had a great T-shirt stitched together from just that recycling is a political act, and he's right. They're kind of stuff that would be going to
Amazing.
landfill. They're giving it a
They've
whole
been doing that for 30,
other
40
life and
years for a
purpose.
playground.
Yeah.
But you were in development, you were in
Yeah.
concern about, I did a gig for you at one
You
stage.
did. I was in concern.
Was I any good?
You were class.
Oh,
They got raised a fortune.
Still very good, by the way,
Yes.
if you want to see my stand-up show, solo stand-up show, Ridiculously Claire, endorsed by Claire Hanna MP.
I was in concern for about 10 years, and I tell you, like, there's no foundation for a life in politics better than you definitely get a lot of perspective working in development, and you see
sure.
public services being delivered in the most impossible situations, and it makes me a bit impatient sometimes about the way we don't deal with things. But actually, before that, I worked for Comic Relief in 2003, 2005, and I like to claim that I made the blame game. Did you know
made
this?
the
I
blame game?
Yeah, yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, wait, okay. You had the
Wait a
idea. You
minute.
had the intellectual property.
No, I didn't have
and
the idea.
yeah.
It was at the BBC. It was Jackie Hamilton, the producer.
Jackie Hanna, and then I had a wee bit of budget because in Comic Relief they had, because obviously it's housed in the BBC,
right.
and they had to make a local programme, and he was like, I have a programme, have an idea that I've been trying to get made, and he used that wee bit of budget, and it was the first blame game. So every time
Wow.
I go, I am to blame for the blame game. Well, not me, it wasn't actually.
My children got through
Yep,
university.
yeah,
and
there you
all
go,
that.
there you go.
Right, well, we must get you on something. No, we can't
Yeah,
get you
yeah.
on. No, I know you're too political now.
No, I'm not fast enough.
You'll
But
have-
anyway, I like to, in that politician way of you go, I did that even though
Well,
you didn't
that's-
actually do any of the real work, but you were in proximity to the thing happening. So.
Well, that's very kind of you,
Yeah,
because
well,
we're still
you're
going,
welcome,
believe it
yeah.
or not, 20
20
odd
years later, yeah.
20
yeah.
odd years later, we're still going with a new series in November, December. I'll get you free tickets. You can
Sweet,
declare
love
them
to,
because they're
yeah.
free. They're
Yes, of
BBC.
course, yeah.
Don't worry about anything like
Yeah,
that.
can
I
you
hope Jackie Hamilton finds you.
some glasses and suits thrown in?
You have to be careful about all that sort of stuff, don't you? I mean,
Yeah, you do, and so you should.
Yeah.
I'm a bit Spartan about all of that stuff. I'm the cheapest.
You won't even
I'm
take
Northern
a free
Ireland's
cup of
cheapest
coffee
MP.
from Drip Coffee.
I'm the lowest claimant. No, I just think you've got to be. I mean, you've got to be judicious with public money.
You would embarrass Jeremy Corbyn, would you?
They're going, but yeah. I mean, some of the hospitality stuff. I mean, obviously, I love the arts. I go to shows
Aye.
and stuff here, but I tend to buy my own tickets
You
in
buy your
general.
own
Oh, well, I
tickets?
do. Yeah, sometimes you go to stuff. Sometimes if it was stuff I wasn't going to go to, you might go along. But I wouldn't be doing the big hospitality except in August when Taylor Swift was in London, and not for me, for my 12-year-old. I did say to a few people, if there's any despotic regimes or nuclear arms companies or tobacco manufacturers or anything need any, I'm available for this month only. But unfortunately nobody bid,
you
so
not
I
get
didn't have to declare.
You didn't even get. Did you get tickets for Taylor Swift?
No, I didn't get to. No, I had to.
wow.
No, I didn't. But turns out if you go and drop a load of a load of money in the merchandise stall, and we sat and watched it out the back with my sister, and their kids were in.
Can you
it
not
all
even,
worked out well.
Can you get tickets for Oasis? Can you?
I know. Is it worth the aggravation?
No, I'm not a fan.
That did you miss my wee
What?
Oasis gag there, but yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
Did I miss that?
Don't talk to me.
Generational thing, this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll make it? Will they? Well, you have stayed together for all those years. Did you have ever any big Liam and Noel style punch-ups
we
and
had
fallouts?
we had all our fuck you conversations
A long time ago.
So
Yeah.
it wasn't going to happen then.
Okay, so people can be confident that.
Well,
the next
yeah,
show
I'm kind of
is gonna
stuck with
happen.
him now. 60 years old, still in a bloody gang. You know, can you believe that? But you're still in the gang in the SDLP,
Yeah,
for God's
totally.
sake. And you'll never
good
get
point.
rid of them. You know?
Political parties are kind of like gangs. We tribes, people who've,
And there's cliques in them and all, isn't there?
Well, do you know, there are and there aren't. I mean, sometimes for better and worse, we're pretty open about our politics and sometimes our disagreements. We kind of have seminars in public
Right.
rather than
Yeah.
So it's a big happy family, all pulling in the same direction.
And you're not laughing behind your hands at some of the scandals that are engulfing Sinn Féin at the minute, right?
You listen. You focus on your own. You focus on the things you can
do your
control.
own
We've
homework.
do your own
Never worry
homework,
about anybody else.
Yeah.
See,
I mean,
I was a bit Stephen Nolan there. Take that back.
I was about to give an answer, and then I was like,
Yeah. No, don't do that.
It'll blow
No.
over. It'll blow over. Yeah.
But do you have? I mean, do you have a busy life? You have 3 kids.
Yeah, 3 kids.
You have
Yeah.
fun runs. You have charity stuff. How do you fit all that in?
I mean, like.
How many days a week in London?
I'm in London probably 2. I mean, unashamedly as little as I can get away with. And don't get me wrong, I'm a good solid MP, and I don't miss anything relevant to Northern
Belfast.
Ireland or the island of Ireland or South Belfast. But if they're talking about like the train station in Dorset or something, I'll miss that debate and stay and go to stuff here. So you get the business the week before, and you can kind of decide what you need to be there for, and then you just squeeze it in. But if it makes you feel any better, like my house is a total mess, and none of my kids have their hair brushed or anything. So that's how it works out. But
And
so
you
you're
look at the house in a total mess and must go on a park run here.
must
Is that
go.
what you do?
Yeah, exactly. Or go out and knock some doors or something.
So what's better
instead.
crack? House of Parliament or Stormont?
Honestly, Westminster is better. Like, just Stormont has it. It is like the most whipped parliament west of Prague. Like, there's no dissent really.
Sure.
You know, it's kind of there's never any
So
time.
complete block votes then?
Block votes. There's very rarely. I can't think of any votes where you go, I wonder how this is going to go. And the scrutiny. I mean, we saw that last week in that mad committee session. Like, to be fair, one of the things I admire in Westminster, MPs do take it quite seriously that you scrutinise the minister, even if they're of your party. Now, don't get me wrong. There's people who throw softballs and toady up to their.
Yeah.
It says here, when they're reading out their questions, they've very clearly been written by a whip or something.
Yeah.
But you do. They would kind of throw digs at their own side. Like I sat on the Northern Ireland Affairs Committee last year, and I'm back on that. And like the Tories on it would have really pushed their ministers, and were actually pretty good for this place in a way that you don't get at Stormont. And then I suppose because people are away from home, and there is, for better and worse, there's a more sociable side to it. Whereas apparently Stormont, like. The bar lifts about 500 quid a year. Like nobody.
Seriously?
Have you ever heard
Yeah.
anybody go? Sure, we'll go for
No,
a
it's
drink
true,
when we're in
actually, you don't
Stormont.
storm it.
It's kind of
It's just that big empty hall as well. Just feels really cold or something.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I think some of it is obviously just the geography. Everybody can get home,
true.
so everybody just is out the door when they go. But the canteen, which is where I've just come from, actually, I'm in Stormont on a Monday, and. The canteen, even that, it's kind of, it doesn't mix that much. It's kind of a bit.
I've been in the canteen. The DUP sit here, and the Shinners sit over there, and it's all very divided.
Hard to believe, Tim. Hard to believe.
Whereas over there you do, and then just it is pretty old fashioned and time wasty, but the votes. But it does mean that everybody has to walk through the same small space
But
together.
let's be
so
honest, you must have been raging. You won the general election, and then you find out that Jim Allister is following you over to Westminster. You must have thought, come on, what are the chances
when you get
of
a new
that?
job, you're like, this guy, yeah.
And does he sit beside you in Westminster?
No, we sit on the other side of the chamber. So, I mean, Jim Allister... I don't know. I'm in trouble. I think he might struggle to kind of connect over there. Here people know him. People know that even if you don't agree with it, be worth hearing what he says. Whereas kind of KC's
nobody
are
over
10 a
there.
penny over there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
don't think people are done talking about Brexit. They're all kind of scundered about it. They don't want to be associated
Yeah.
with it anymore. So nobody's
Scundered.
biting
Well,
when
can
you
I
talk about
speak
the
up for Jim
colonial.
here? I want to
you
speak
know.
up for Jim
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
I mean, he's fair to big Jim. Like, he's funnier than us.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, no,
yes.
but by the way, Jim, if you're watching, you're very
Welcome on the
on
podcast. Jim and I were
I-
we were on the finance committee together in 2016 in Stormont and worked for. I mean, he's a very able guy.
He's a
and
very witty guy.
and he is good. And he's
Yeah.
good. He's a good scrutineer. I mean, I think it won't surprise you to say I think his politics are awful, but you know, he has had some successes at rooting out some of the staleness in Stormont, but it just I don't know, over there, obviously most of the kind of mad Brexiters either ran away and didn't contest the elections or lost their seats, so there's not that many.
Strange thing about Jim Allister is, because we filmed him a couple of times, did a couple of interviews with him, he's really hard to edit. Because his lips keep moving after he stops speaking. so it's really hard to cut him.
Remember,
It's
you
sort
had
of
a problem there.
and I was, no, that's out of sync. And I'm going, it's not out of sync. It's exactly on sync.
I have to confess, like I you know, social media, although social media is kind of dying, like Twitter's such a weird place. But anyway, I have a TikTok account, which is the only one I don't operate myself because I'm just too old. I just don't know how it works.
Yeah, I'm getting
But
tagged about that for
my,
Instagram.
My top 4 big hits on TikTok are all digging matches with Jim Allister, so I can't complain. It's probably the metaphorically.
Yeah, I mean, slightly serious. The way we interviewed Naomi Long and we've had other people. I mean, women in particular get horrible abuse online, don't you? I mean, it's just, it's just vile. Do you? How do you deal with that?
You do,
just go,
and it's kind of.
I mean, some people say, oh, well, it comes with the terrible. It shouldn't come with.
No, it shouldn't, and it's actually a real deterrent when you're trying to talk people
Yeah.
into getting involved in politics. They go, no,
Yeah.
I've seen
Why
it.
would I
And I
put
know, like,
myself through that?
my sister used to go, do you see what they're saying about you? And I go, I actually don't see, because I've got it all filtered. And look, it is. It's all, I mean, it's a sewer. Like, you could post up that the sky was blue and just the
Yeah.
abuse you get. And you know what's sad? You can't, if you're at, say, like you're at a school or if you're at an event or a business and you post it up, the abuse they will then get by association. So I mean, it's sad to see, because I remember when Twitter used to be really good
Bit of
crack,
crack,
but yeah, there's a coarsening in politics and
We're getting slightly too serious, but is that because we seem to be dehumanising politicians and forget that they're like human
People.
beings
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
you know, a bit of crack and they have real lives and all
Yeah,
of that?
yeah, you're right.
Is there something which is partly why we do this and kind of go, you're real? But I know if this podcast goes out, we've said this before. We've had comedians on, people go, yeah, great. You're a politician, all go, oh. Naomi Long, Alliance Party, X, Y,
Delete.
Z,
No,
delete.
yeah.
And you know they'll abuse you for just
for having them,
and
yeah.
no doubt will people be going, you're all nationalists and blah blah because you've Carmel Hanna or
Yeah.
Carmel Hanna.
Carmel, well done.
Oh,
Well
see that?
done.
I get
See
called
how
worse.
old
I get
am?
called worse. Yeah. She actually.
Given my age away, she
was
was
telling me-
brilliant. We couldn't get her, Claire.
She was picking something up, and they said, "What's your name?" And she said, "Carmel Hanna." They went, "As in Claire Hanna," and she was like,
Oh.
"The tide has finally turned. Now she's getting called Claire."
Oh, I had the worst experience on that. I had a kid stop me the other day and say, "Oh, you're dad." I said, "Yeah." He said, "I heard you on Shane Todd's
Pod's Toddcast.
I heard you on Shane."
Why didn't he call it a Toddcast? It's a way better name.
Why didn't
Yeah.
he call it the podcast? Hold on a minute.
The Toddcast.
Hang on, the producer is just saying he did call it the. He had the
Had
Toddcast.
to call- Oh, damn, I thought of that.
Well,
Another
anyway,
thing I
that's-
could claim.
Yeah, the blame game and Shane Todd.
No, you're right, and it is important because for what it's worth, like nearly all the politicians in all the parties, I think they get into it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
You know, you can kind of see a convoluted logic. Now, some of them, obviously. Well, I'm not going to. Naomi, I think, probably thoroughly
She does a brilliant
analysed all the. I listened to it.
does a
probably
brilliant
not-
Boris
very
Johnson.
little to add there. Is there anybody we didn't slag off?
Yeah, but like Boris Johnson is kind of that sort
Bet
of
Noir, yeah.
it's that sort of level of politicians that they called, what's the expression? If they swallowed a nail, they'd shit a corkscrew. They're that crooked.
Yeah, you do. Just like I didn't have that many engagements with him, but you could just tell it's just he wasn't processing.
You
the
couldn't believe a word
information,
came out of
yeah.
his mouth, could you?
Yeah, you couldn't believe
You
a word
literally
came out of it. But you could just tell he was one of these people in meetings. He was almost like trying to ingratiate and smiling and kind
Right,
of
okay.
he wants to be. he craves being liked. But you
really
could tell, and I mean, the couple of times we met him, it was like in the weed stuff on Brexit, and you could just tell
Hadn't
I
a
might as
clue.
well be talking to the wall here for all he is processing the detail, because I think you assume that people are going to be, there's a lot of depth and there's an ability there, and there isn't. I was thinking of that Kennedy one where when he first went to Congress, he spent the first few months going, wow, how did I get here? And after a few months, he's like, how did they all get here? There is a lot of that they're just disappointingly
we would probably be not telling any lies, saying that we're fairly left-leaning in our views. But and I was certainly a big Jeremy Corbyn fan. But I remember we were sitting talking once. Well, actually, let's be honest now. If you're going to go for a night out, would you rather go out for a night with Jeremy or with Boris? You're going to have a better night out with Boris.
Wash your hair that night. Hang on, you might find one of the other 73 bars in Parliament Road. No, they're all.
Yeah, he'd be larger than life, and you wouldn't believe a word he said.
This is the interesting thing right now. Well, we are getting political here, but right. So you could see he was dishonest.
Yeah.
Naomi could see he was dishonest. What were the DUP thinking? Why did they trust him?
Yeah, there's a kind of a bit of a Stockholm syndrome situation going on there. Like you could see even in the last, just like the Tories were like just lobbing grenade after grenade, and then the debates would happen, and they'd take all their fire out on the Labour Party, and like sometimes a shadow Secretary of State who was kind of on a similar page. I don't really know. I think there was a few. Shall we say, malign actors that in the DUP that weren't making life any easier for them. Like one of whom was the former member for North Antrim, who probably got them into fairly convoluted situations and had alignments with people who clearly had no interest in this region's fortunes. We're just using it to grandstand.
It was the stupidest thing to do to support Brexit if you're a unionist.
Insane, like
Absolutely
totally
mad.
nuts. I mean, it's definitely it is
Totally against your interests.
totally. I mean.
And I mean, before it all happened, I mean, we had the discussion. Where's the border going to go? It's going to go on the Irish Sea.
One of the big things now, that just in the budget, that the agricultural payments are going into the block grant. I remember specifically saying, people dismissing me, specifically saying that sort of thing was going to happen. And I think it was a kind of a sandpit. They thought they could muck about in a campaign, align themselves with people they admired, the Farages of this world, and suffer no consequences. But they have, I mean, we're not getting all political, but they have accelerated the end of the union. They have catalysed
Well, they've certainly
the
weakened
conversation
it.
there.
So why would you do it?
I think they've injected a momentum in. Exactly. And I think some of it was just getting swept up in that gang, wanting to hang around with the cool boys and
Before all unionists switch off.
and I think I will say I do. I mean, that's the thing. We were talking about people and personalities in politics. There's huge ranges within political parties. As I say that I was going to say that I don't know why I'm choosing my words so carefully about the former member who did actually try to sue me once before.
Did he?
On the Nolan programme, I called him a troll, and I got a letter from a high-profile legal operator. And
let's not name what we all know here.
Yeah. So I sent one back, and I didn't hear any more. But I think it was probably some beef, because I do try to.
Did it come from Sri Lanka or the Maldives?
You do try to. I actually got that on Hansard. Chris Bryant was in the chamber, and he was talking. It was something about standards and privileges, and he was referring to that member's suspension. You remember he got the first ever, and he was saying on the report of the member for and you have to call each other by constituency. The member for North Down, and he said the member for I can't remember, and I went North Antrim and the Maldives, and he went North Antrim and the Maldives, and he reported it. And if somebody because he repeated it, it's in Hansard. But you do try to deal with people courteously, and Jim Allister and I have had robust exchanges, but they've been civil.
Courteous.
But once I did let my temper get the better of me once, and I did. You allowed to swear on this podcast?
Yeah.
I did call Paisley a gobshite on Twitter, and he was raging about it, and lots of people, I got lots of stern rebukes. But my mum hates bad language, and she would usually really cringe at it. But I was talking to her, and she went, "Well, your job is to use the most appropriate language." And the best thing was, I got into the office the next day, and somebody had dropped me in a cheque for 50 quid. They said, "I've never donated to a politician before, but that's the most truthful thing I've ever heard." And I got a donation out of it. So,
if I threw a name to you, and you two guys as well, see if you recognise his name, Shailesh Vara.
yes, I do remember
who Shailesh Vara
Yeah.
is? Hang on, do you have any idea who Shailesh Vara is?
Is he the shortest lived Secretary of State for Northern Ireland?
He was a Secretary of State for Northern Ireland.
Thank you.
Well done. And we've had a selection of...
He had a summer job,
numpties.
basically. He basically had like a work
don't know if he
experience in
even
the
made it
Northern
here,
Ireland
but he
office.
was here for about 2 weeks or
He did,
something.
because I had an argument with him.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was invited in for tea, and I don't think it was an MP at the time, I can't remember, but in Stormont Castle, and he brexplained to me how everything was going to be okay and how I'd got the wrong end of the stick. Don't you understand, little lady? And I had a pretty robust exchange with him in a very nice office, taking tea in Stormont Castle, and he was probably delighted with himself. Look at my fancy office in a castle, and this upstart come in and picks a fight with me about Brexit.
He lasted weeks when he's...
Yeah.
Did you see the guy that asked if he needed a passport for Derry?
Yes.
Was that the guy or was somebody
Yeah.
else? Yeah. There was a whole selection.
Or the guy on radio who said that he thought that anybody in Britain was entitled to an Irish passport as well. Yeah. There was
Can I just
A
speak
few
up though
clangers.
for the former member for Northampton? Because
You can, of course.
Ian.
Is that who you were talking about? I don't know who you were talking about. I was just,
I actually met him once on holiday.
right. Oh, bet you did. Yes.
Yes.
Bet you
we
paid for
stayed-
the holiday though.
No, we stayed in the same hotel.
Yeah. Oh, did you?
Yes, and I used to meet him at the
Jeez.
swimming pool.
Deep
every
pockets,
day.
you're paying well for this podcast.
And we got on very well.
Okay, very
We got
civil.
on very well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I
And
was just saying.
where's it funny?
We,
We'll have him on the podcast if
Yeah,
he
yeah,
wants.
I'll
He's
do the podcast.
doing nothing at the minute. He's free at the minute. But they have given us a selection of numpties, haven't they?
No, it's been
Who's the shadow guy who hasn't been? There's a shadow Tory.
He can't afford to be
He
here.
hasn't been to Northern Ireland because he says he can't afford to come.
He can't afford an
really?
EasyJet flight.
Yeah,
can't
did you not
afford-
hear this? He said he can't afford the
For
flight.
Alex Spur? Well, okay, yeah.
But he says
Rodrigo.
he
can't afford-
could be
He hasn't
sticking
got the
any
money.
name.
He
Nobody will
claims he
know.
hasn't enough money to come over. That's his claim. He can't afford it.
Really?
Yeah.
Because there is, well, anyway, there is, if I quote the IPSA guide to him, there is provision for travel in line with your
Well, apparently
legal,
that's his
your,
excuse anyway.
your legitimate
Yeah.
duties. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I'd say he'll get
Kemi Badenoch or
Kemi
Badenoch,
Badenoch, yeah.
her husband.
Hamish stood in foil.
Stood for the Conservative Party in Northern Ireland.
Really?
2015. Yeah, they kind of do like a
And got about 7 votes. Or
a
something.
blooding thing where they kind of, as Tories work their way, and so I guess the big parties do it, as you work your way up, you sort of have to put your name on a ballot paper and I suppose run a shadow campaign, because there's loads of them have stood here.
Was
They're
there,
paper, they're paper candidates.
Oh, right,
they're,
okay.
They're, I think they got like 2,000 votes in total
In the whole of
across.
Northern Ireland.
Yeah. Yeah, so they quite simply have no consent or legitimacy. You won't. It won't surprise you to hear me argue. But yeah, he stood in foil in 2015. I didn't just know that. I'm not that much of a
Right.
nerd. I read that in the paper at the weekend. But in that, there's always a Northern Ireland link in every story. Yeah. We've written ourselves into this one.
Yeah.
we used to think that our politicians were an embarrassment, and some of them were pretty
very
bad
dare
and all
you.
of that. But like you look across at America now, and but what did
bonkers.
we have to complain about? Really?
Bonkers, you're right. You're right.
know.
This is being recorded literally the day before the elections.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Would you
who's
like to
gonna
make
win.
a prediction? This will go out after the election.
Yeah,
Would you have a
geez.
prediction?
Like, will the world exist? I know, and yeah, I mean, obviously, gosh, I desperately, it almost doesn't bear thinking about. Funny today, as I was dropping the kids up to school, and I passed one of my neighbours staring in front of me, and he was like, "I'm just looking for good luck in polling numbers." You know, everybody just as a little bit of consolation and trying to get ourselves through it, because it's so weird that something that will have consequences for us, we have so little control over. So my prediction, Kamala Harris will win big.
You think so?
Oh, well.
I mean, based on absolutely no science except my inherent optimism and my need to somehow get myself out of bed tomorrow. And I mean, yeah,
Hopefully she does.
because instinctively, despite being proven otherwise, I think people are good and decent, and enough of them will do the right thing. But feel free to humiliate me for my foolishness.
Well,
but,
no.
But you hear, I mean, you
You
see loads of people. Again, there's actually various political people over knocking doors over there in the swing states. I suspect you'd be no use, whenever and during elections people do go, can I come and help out on the campaign? And when you don't really know an area, you're not the best person to. Can you imagine basically some Scottish MP coming to swing a vote in Pennsylvania?
Have you met either of the candidates?
Have I met either of the No, I have not. I've not met either of them. I wouldn't be like the mad like everybody. I watched all 7 series of the West Wing at different times, but I wouldn't be a huge, big US politics watcher. But I know that politics is about choices, and some better than others. No, I haven't.
Well, if the
I haven't
election
met them.
goes wrong, you might have to meet him at some stage.
Well, I suspect. Well, there's every chance I won't. For 2 reasons. One, he hasn't shown any particular interest in this part of the world. Although I think I can't believe we've been discussing Ian Paisley so much. But aren't they mates? Didn't he say they had some?
Yeah,
some
he did,
so maybe he'll be a special envoy. But he hasn't. I don't think he's going to. Particularly now, we're not the hottest topic in town anymore. And I can't imagine that I would be going to any party he'd throw in the White House, not least because we didn't go last time over what's going on in Gaza and the US role in that. But I don't think we'd be.
No,
I can't imagine having a good afternoon out. But that's that. Are you going to be? Will you be sitting up and watching it? Or?
I don't know.
Well, that's a sad thing. It's not like a decent election where you get a count and you get
They say they won't know for days. I don't have to be in London until Wednesday, and I'm actually flying at 6:30 on Wednesday morning. I'm going to the airport. It's going to be a kind of a weird place if it. So I probably far too dozy to stay
funny.
up and go straight to the airport.
It has the first. I would imagine for people in Britain, it probably has the first sense of the way we always feel when there's an election in the UK, because you went, well, it's Labour's. It's either going to be Labour or Tory. We don't really have that influence. Whereas I imagine a lot of people in Britain for the first time are feeling we have no influence on this American election. It's so important.
Yeah, so we're used to being disembarked.
Yeah, we're used to. You know what I mean?
It's not a great choice for the Americans, though, is it? They don't really great.
To be fair, it is an easy choice to make. I don't think. I think Kamala Harris seems to be, again, not somebody I know in depth, is held to a much higher standard. He's completely coherent, appalling in his treatment of people, and basically if she stumbles over a single word, we're like, God, is this woman capable of doing? She hasn't got this length without some ability. She's one of your types, isn't she? She's a lawyer. She's
She was we got out of it a long time ago.
A prosecutor, yeah. And would you be allowed to rock up and practice the law? Is it like once a lawyer, always a lawyer?
Always a priest.
Recovering lawyer?
If being a lawyer is like being a priest. Like once you're made one, you are one. You're stuck with it. Unless
check out, but you
unless
can
you're defrocked for some reason.
But could you rock up? Do you have to pay us?
Technically, I think they'd say, no, do you know what?
Can I call you in an emergency?
Yes. But you could. Me too. We used to get it all the time.
You're not insured.
We used to get it in the BBC. People come up to us and go, I know you're not practicing. No, we're not. They say, well, you see, in an unfair dismissal.
I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV.
You're just humble LLBs. You're an LLM.
I am an LLM, yeah. I did a master's in.
Did you avoid the law then?
Did I? No, I actually didn't. I didn't go to university. I actually knew everything when I was 18. I had literally nothing to learn after I did my A-level. So I took a year out, which became 10 years out. And I didn't do university until I went to Open University in my late 20s. Once I'd noticed a few gaps in my knowledge on a few subject areas. And then, I did a master's in Queen's about 7 or 8 years ago in law, just because I thought... I love learning stuff now. But
she's smarter than us.
Educated.
But
But it was great. It's just I like to, it helps you sort of organise your thoughts and stuff. But I was never going to maybe if this doesn't work out, maybe I'll have to.
If this
I'll have
doesn't
to
work
go
out, Jim will give you some advice. You could become a QC as well, or KC.
KC now, yeah,
KC in the
And you
Sunday.
could be on strike today if you're a lawyer.
That's right.
Well, you could be on strike.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Buckets of sympathy here.
When you, well, we need them, and the justice system's in a wild mess, and it has, without getting too serious. You see some of the cases you deal with, and people waiting years and years to have to go to court and relive terrible things. So we have some sympathy with that. I was actually in a meeting about it this morning, and need to get it sorted, but.
Do you like your comedy? You like your drama, and you go to the theatre?
Yeah, I do. I do. I'm actually. I feel. I'm going to see
Shane
Shane Todd on Saturday night. I should.
Oh,
I must take one of those. Sorry.
Todd.
I do.
He's a funny guy, isn't he?
He is a funny guy. Yeah. And so
Have one of
that's
those
what I was going to
anyway,
say. Well, I saw you're in there. Yeah, I love. I'm
going to see
just love the
Shane
arts.
Todd. I mean, you come on.
Sorry.
No, it's a bit much.
It's like
Tim.
you coming on saying you.
I'm voting TUV next time. That's all I'm saying.
I love it. I love comedy. Yeah, I really enjoy. I don't go to stand up as much as I would like. I mean, I watch videos on Netflix and all that. I love.
Sure, you go to the House of Commons.
Well, you're right. London's most improbable theatre show. Yeah, but and I love the arts. I love theatre.
Yeah.
I do like theatre. Not in a. I love theatre,
I
in
love
that
theatre,
kind of. I put it to you, but I
you
just
go and watch a play.
Yeah, I go and watch a play, and I love. Like I went to see Richard III in the Lyric last week,
Was
and
it
I was
good?
like, oh God, Shakespeare, geez, I'm going to be. And like Wikipedia, what's this about? But it was incredible if you have a chance to see it,
I heard
and it
good
just
things about it.
drags you through it. The acting is so strong that even though like I didn't really know what was going on for the first half of it, it brings you through. And I like live music. I was at a gig last night, which is why I was so nervous.
right?
I was like, in the Belfast Telegraph building. Have you been to
Oh,
anything in there?
yeah.
They're called public service broadcasting. They're a bit kind of
All right.
hipster music that my husband's into, but they were great.
very
They
nice.
play old public service films and they put them to music, which it's actually better than it sounds, I promise,
Right.
but it's really, really good.
What, like a burst pipe and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, you know what I mean? They had a whole album about Amelia Earhart, and they had a whole album about like miners in Wales and stuff. But I'm not selling this to you. But trust me, it was good, and it's very
We
good.
love the burst
It's a very
pipe
good
and the
venue.
spirit of dog and
What was the one with the stick?
Born in 1980.
Yeah.
Remember the first pipe?
and the nuclear alert. That
Oh,
one.
the green
But yeah,
crust.
I love it, and I can't wait. And I love your. Yep, I was a big give my headpiece. I think my favourite was one you did actually. I saw recently you did. In Give My Headpiece, a sort of a spoof of Hume, but and it was Da was lying on the couch and Ma was trying to hold the
he
door
was at the
closed
door.
right.
while,
Oh, yes.
while John Hume was trying to canvass
Yes,
her.
that was
but
earlier.
That was him.
It was great, but it was
right.
it was.
I played
It was
Great man.
it was both a send up, but it was gentle and it
was a
was
fa-
fair and it
yes,
was nice and it
'cause
was.
he had his one- he's had
it's
his-
reassuring to hear that those lines, seep through.
He had his
Canvassing is
one
the-
transferable speech, or single transferable
Single-
speech. He
yeah,
called
yeah.
about these islands, between these islands, and love these islands.
but
and-
we're all living in its world. We're all
Well,
using his
you know
language
what?
now.
Yes, and you can say many things, but John
he
Hume was
survived
one
it,
of the best
and
things
he
to
went
quote
and he did it.
A glass is either half full or half
Half
empty.
empty. You've
depending
depends on how you
your
see it.
perception.
Yes, exactly.
You can't eat a flag.
You can't. Yeah.
Did you know him at all? Your mum was obviously.
I mean,
your mum
I
and dad
did.
knew
Yeah,
him.
I met him. A load of times. I don't think it's any secret. His health
was-
had deteriorated long before. So yeah, I would met him any number of times. Only ever really had one serious political conversation with him, and it was around like in the late 90s. I think it was just after the agreement, and I was involved in. We were organising this. Bicentenary event for the United Irishmen, and I decided to sound really smart and started a conversation with him, and then was not prepared for all the answers and had to sort of nod along. But he was fascinating. He was recommending books and all that. But yeah, no, he was. I mean, he was good crack every time.
Did he win the top Irishman, or there was an RTE
He did.
Irishman,
He did, and do you
best
know
Irishman
what?
ever?
Like all politicians are vainer than we like to think. But
No.
I actually, yes, it's true. It's true. Everybody reads their. But he used to when he'd bump into my mum and dad, he'd always go to my mum, "Are you still with that old fella?" Which always made me. But that
Poland.
Greatest Irishman, yeah, he was quite invested in it as the polls
Right.
were, because I remember my dad would have been in regular touch with him and used to see him quite often, not least because he'd be in Belfast for stuff. And Dad was like, "Yeah, you're being nominated for this Greatest Irishman award." And a couple of times he was like, "How's how are the numbers going? Because obviously he was an elections man, you know, he knows that's the currency in this business, it's votes. And he'd be like, how's it going? And Dad would give him different progress updates. And Dad said he rang him to go, you've won, John. You were crowned, you know, greatest Irishman, you know, against Parnell and O'Connell and Brian Boru. And he was like, proper order. you got to back yourself.
If he'd been fit and you know, if he'd been fit, he could have walked in as president of Ireland.
Absolutely,
he wouldn't even have a vote.
Absolutely, and it is. I mean,
it's sad that he.
It absolutely is.
Deteriorated quite badly.
But it is true. I mean, all of us, from Paisley and Allister and everybody, we are operating in a structure he created and in the language that he created, and everybody is a. He was parodied in his own time and got a lot of pressure. But
you threw me there because when you said if he'd been fit, I thought you were going to say if he'd been Jerry fit. Then we could go reverse. Let's go.
Yeah.
So if you stay on as leader of the SDLP and do well, you could end up president of Ireland. That's a good gig.
Jeez, don't jump your fences. Yeah,
we were honoured by Mary McAleese when she was president of Ireland.
Is she a contemporary of yours?
Hey, whoa, contemporary. Get the.
Well, I mean, as in.
Well, she taught us.
Yeah, she taught you. Yeah.
You see, I was actually taught law by Mary McAleese and David Trimble.
Yeah,
and what about and Sylvia Herman as well?
Sylvia Herman was known. Her maiden name before she married Jack was Sylvia Paisley.
Yeah,
she used to introduce herself as Sylvia No Relation Paisley.
Yes, yeah.
And taught us European law, which is why we know Brexit is.
She was so class. Whenever I became, because I'd met her a few times. Whenever I got elected, she was very. She actually gave me all her old stationery. So for about my first 3 or 4 years as MP, I didn't have to buy any Commons headed paper. But she was brilliant. She gave me loads of advice on good tips how to give a tour of the Commons and all that. And whenever I would sometimes sort of, you know, lose my head and be a bit shouty and fighty, I'd think, what would Sylvia do in this situation? She'd be a lot calmer and more civilised than me. But yeah, so you were graced with Mary McAleese.
She very kindly give us an honour and an Irish Anecdote after 10 years of Give Me Head Peace.
Wow.
She did more 10 years of Give Me Head Peace. And
proper order. Proper order. Brilliant.
Yeah, still no sign of the OBE. But
what is it you said? The other buggers' efforts or something?
Yeah. She taught us at the Institute. I mean, we were at the Institute doing law, and that was Mary McAleese was in charge at that point before she became president. Why did she leave the Institute of Legal Studies? Did they become a president?
I know. Back the wrong horse there.
Mary.
14 years she got out of it too.
I know.
I know, that's a great gig. You see, it wasn't that hard. You got the artist flowing and you didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't. See, that was all right.
Yeah.
You've got 2 minders there, and they weren't going.
I know. I never actually. I don't travel with a posse. Usually, I generally arrive on my. Well, not. I don't arrive on my bike to Hollywood. I did arrive in Journ's Polo. I don't usually have staff, but we thought it would be the most exciting thing we'll do today.
Okay.
They're fans. They're basically
It's all right.
So I don't. I have an entourage for that.
Well, listen.
They'll keep me right.
You okay? You think you survived?
Thanks. Yeah, that was.
Come back.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Come back
Listen,
in your second series.
We say this to all politicians. Best of luck. You know,
Thanks a
we're
million,
not
same.
biased. We will have Jim Allister on if he wants. If he's free, we'll get Jim Allister on. We'll have
Absolutely.
Jim.
And he's the
the former member for Northampton.
And the former member for Northampton.
Very welcome.
But thank you very much for being on the podcast.
Lovely to chat to you.
And thank you to our friends from Drip for their support. We will be back next week. Follow the podcast. Follow the links down below for Give Me Head Peace Live is on tour in March. We're all over the place. We're in the Grand Opera House at the last week of March. Get your tickets now. Give Me Head Peace Live. We will be offering Claire Hanna free tickets, which she will refuse.
You're in South Belfast next month.
On a point of principle. So thank you very much for your support. See you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.